My apologies for those that tune in for the Squirrels and the Blue Jays only. I have to shoot inside today. It is raining in California, and not the like, ooh, make fun of the Californians kind of rain. Like, it's actually coming down pretty hard. I had to tiptoe through a puddle to get to my car to drive to the donut shop this morning. All right? So, yes, I am a hero. Welcome to the Blathering Mailbag. I'm Ken Napzok. This is where I take a question from my blathering community and I try to make sense of my own answer. Today we got a question from Brennan Marr, who is recently a birthday boy. So once again, happy belated birthday to you, Brennan. Brennan writes, I asked you this question live on your show one time, but I'm wondering if you have any additional thoughts on it. Have movie pundits and critics gotten meaner in their criticisms, or have fans gotten more sensitive? Gee, how can I upset two groups of friends? I actually don't think critics have gotten meaner. I think being mean is inherent in the DNA of critics. Just look up the legendary stories of Pauline Kael, right? I mean, watch the movie Birdman. I think she inspired every frame of that movie in a way. Just ask our buddy George Lucas about critics, particularly, snooty critics in 1977 and 1980 and 1983 and 1999 and 2002 and 2005, 2008. The man in flannel will have a lot to say about critics. But yeah, I think being mean is always part of their game. But I want to be clear to anyone I know, and I know a lot of people in the movie and TV and art, pop culture criticism game. I'm not like saying you don't have a place at the table. I think good criticism is tremendously valuable. It has always been valuable. It's actually a way to kind of reflect a mirror back on ourselves. I love criticism that has a insightful, well thought out, good faith approach to analyzing what the art is trying to say and measuring it up against its own expectations and setting it against the backdrop of our culture, both of now and maybe in the past, and maybe even looking to the future and asking, what will this art mean then? I think there is great value in that. And I have read a lot of wonderful articles about movies and TV, and especially about music. I love good music criticism there. So I don't want it to sound like I'm being dismissive. I really don't. So to any of my friends in the criticism game, if we run into each other at a press screening, we don't have to be weird or awkward. I mean, you're going to be weird or awkward just naturally. And if we're at a party, we don't have to hang out. I'll be at the shrimp cocktail. You can go to the mini hot dogs. I'll subscribe to your newsletter. It's going to be okay, all right? We're good. We're truly good. What I think you're talking about, Brennan, is the digital media effect, which I think we just can call media at this point. And that is over the last 10, 15, 20 years, everyone's got access to these microphones and the means to get it out into the world. And I just think overall that's not a bad thing. I will always lean towards everyone having a chance to share their perspective and their experiences and their journeys as a good thing, all right? I think there's a lot of bad that comes with that, as we clearly have seen, but I think at the end of the day, I trade a bunch of bad YouTube movie reaction channels for someone on the ground in Gaza sharing their story and their actual experiences, someone on a protest line showing what's really happening, or just someone, sharing their journey as they recover from cancer and want to be, an inspiration or at least a source of knowledge and comfort for those going through the same things. That has tremendous value. So I'm never going to throw out the digital media baby with the bathwater. But when you open up the pool, you don't have well-trained, well-educated experts talking about art. And that includes a dummy like me. Everyone has their voice. Everyone's being heard. And it is a fire hose of opinions. And I think, Brennan, that has caused, yes, some sensitivity in the fandoms. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm absolutely guilty of being a little too sensitive about the things I love. And I think part of that is because pop culture and these movies and shows and the music, even the food we love, all right? You want to start a fight? Do what I do. Say, I love pineapple on pizza, and then just watch the fighting begin all around you while I'm just sitting there quietly enjoying the pizza I love. All of that is deeper than we've ever given it credit for. Right? That is what I think critics at times have missed while doing their wonderful work. That is what George Lucas experienced with A New Hope. Yes, I know, in 77, for a short amount of time, it was called Star Wars. We're so happy for you late-stage Gen Xers. George put out a wild, fun, pulpy Saturday morning adventure serial with some serious themes and messages behind it, but he wrapped it up in this fun package, and people look down upon it. That's just kind of what happened. I grew up in the 80s, the toy bonanza that was the 1980s. And we too were told at the end of that decade or at the end of our youth, put that stuff up, put that stuff on the shelves, get rid of it. You can't be a kid anymore. You got to get serious. And this is not to say that there isn't some great, wonderful, serious art out there, or that everyone has to have a comic book that inspired their lives. But that's what happened. I was formed by these things. We all, from 60s, 70s, 80s onward, were formed by these things, for better or worse, but I think mostly for better, because there's wonderful messages in the art. Marvel Comics were dealing with important social issues. George Lucas was dealing with these very deep, complex political issues, just wrapped up in a fun whiz-bang adventure, and on and on and on. There's so many examples of big, popular films, shows, comic books, stories, music. There's so many examples of these pieces of art saying something of importance, but that being missed by the general audience, and it almost being encouraged to be missed by the generations before you. We still deal with that. There's still genre bias in award show voting. There's still old comics who will go on shows and make the jokes about, Star Wars nerds and all those things. And I get it. I have those jokes too, but I'm a Star Wars nerd, so let me make fun of not getting laid for knowing the history of Admiral Akbar. You don't necessarily need to do it for me. But art matters. Pop culture matters. And so eventually, what I think happened is this digital media exploded. And I'll leave that up to the historians of when that truly happened. Yeah, YouTube comes along. Movie critics jump onto the YouTube train as they should have. Podcasts explode. And then these panel shows explode. I think around that time, that 2010 to 2015 range, all of us, and I was part of that generation of YouTube talkers and podcasters, all of us were so excited that the things that formed us, the things that made us, now has even more value. We get to go on shows and talk about it. But even we were guilty of overlooking it. I think the whole concept was, let's not be a Pauline Kael. Let's not be a stuffy movie critic. Let's just be, let's be honest, mostly the dudes at the end of the bar debating our favorite Batman. What fun. Let's do that. Who would win in a fight? What's your favorite lightsaber? What Transformer would you like to go on a date with? Soundwave? Jazz? It was all fun, but then I think it got too serious. I think it got too marketable to be angry at the art, to talk over the art, to talk through the art, and not engage with what is actually there in the art. I'm someone that takes this stuff very seriously. I absolutely do, because it formed me. But it was hard to discuss that in a movie debate fashion. It was hard to not take it personally. If you were like, I absolutely love this season of this show because it moved me, and someone else was like, you're an idiot, that season sucked. In fact, the entire show sucks. I hate everyone involved with it. Did I win the round? Did I win the debate round? Ding. Oh, did you like that movie? Did you like that piece of art? Did it inspire you? Well, let me tell you the 15 things in the film that were wrong. Ding, ding, ding. Here's all the sins. And I think it started to become a little tribal. I think it started to become a little intense, and it started to become serious, and we were no longer talking about the things that inspired us. We were defending the things that we love. And when you're constantly fighting this zero-sum game of life, I think you're bound to get sensitive. You're bound to get hurt, and you're bound to take it too seriously. And I don't blame anyone. I was part of these shows. I benefited. I loved my time at the Schmoes Know Movie Show. I love my time at Screen Junkies. I love my time at Collider Video. I love when they let me on Movie Talk to make a couple dumb jokes, because by then I'd stop watching movies. I've got 11 years of talking about Star Wars professionally. I love all that stuff. It is who I am. But when you look back at the early days, I think we built all of it on this really snarky, angry foundation, because it's just easier. And that started to weigh on me, and that started to, quite frankly, upset me. So then I started to become even more sensitive. Look, I do not care if you don't like Jar Jar Binks. I don't care if you still got the same jokes from 1999. Live your life. God bless you. But I know a lot of people who grew up in the prequel generation, and that character means a lot to them. That character is an example of how everyone has a place in the story, even those that are viewed as the least of us by others. You're not the least of us, but everyone else thinks you are, but you still have a place in the story. Jar Jar Binks represents that. And if you want to throw some jokes at Jar Jar's way from 1999 and you want to ignore what all the talk and all the pushback did to a human being like Ahmed Best, great. Live your life, like I said. But I'm going to defend the rights of those to be inspired by Jar Jar. So there, as you can see, I'm even sensitive about it. It started to kind of build and build and build. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but back in 2016, I used to always get into a little bit of a discussion with a colleague of mine. At times, you might even say a debate. And I don't want to pull him into the conversation against his will. He kind of has a low profile these days, but let's just call him Mick Nundy. And he and I used to always kind of argue over this idea of turning pop culture discussion into sports talk radio. He was vehemently against it. He benefited from some of it too. He had fun with some of it too. He'd say that, and I think that's all right to say. But he started to look around and realize we're talking about art. We're talking sometimes about silly things, but we're also talking about things that might matter, because again, art matters. Art has meaning. Art is political. Art is saying something. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about things that shouldn't necessarily matter to us as the viewers. Box office numbers, reshoots, set drama, director drama, which, by the way, I love a good set gossip story. Let's talk about how those directors were changing the script and undercutting the meaning of it, and the actors and crew didn't like them, and everyone was happy when they were fired. I love those stories. True or not, but that shouldn't have a lot to do with the final product, right? There's a lot of movies throughout history that have a lot of drama, or have not even drama, but, were made in a way that you didn't expect, right? Casablanca didn't have an ending prepared. You want to talk about having plans for movies and trilogies? In Casablanca, one of the greatest movies of all time, they were like, we'll figure out the ending when we get there. I don't know, we'll come up with some lines. And I know I'm kind of speaking about that in general terms. That would have been a talking point if we had a podcast back then. I heard they didn't have an ending. And you go on a podcast or a YouTube show long enough and say, well, I heard they didn't have a plan. I heard they didn't have an ending. Then everyone out in the world is going to take that. A lot of people are going to see the movie and think, Humphrey Bogart had a pretty good line there, but they didn't have a plan. Great, neat. They didn't have a completed script when they got to set, but what did that make you feel? And why I think a lot of this started as fun, a lot of this started as silliness. A lot of this started as, oh my gosh, the things that we were discussing at parties can now be shows for other people to enjoy. That's a lot of fun. I think it really moved us away from discussing the art. And I used to, back then, the whole point of what I was starting to say on this tangent is, back then I used to argue with my friend Mick Nundy that no, this is great. We're broadcasting, we're having fun, we're debating, we're awarding points for well-made arguments about movies and actors and characters. And he was like, yeah, great, good, but it shouldn't be as serious as we're making it. It should be done with that sense of fun, because this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to have special meaning to us, but also we shouldn't work to tear it down. And I think over the years, even shows that I was involved with kind of shifted how we criticize movies, and how we shifted how we take in the art and then discuss it, and then how we also, I think most importantly, rip it away from the people who love the art. And that's one of the big things that makes me upset of some of the things that I've even done in the past, where something that is so personal, something that is so identity forming, can just be stomped on for points in a discussion, or just can be ripped apart in a podcast. Even if the people aren't doing it with malicious intent, you're gonna feel sensitive. I think, Brendan, that's kind of what you're talking about. It's not that people have set out to be mean, and some people have, and perhaps there's a lot of clicks in being mean. I don't know. I'm not a YouTube scientist, but it seems like that is the quicker, more seductive path than digging deep and finding out, or even just celebrating the things you love. But without a doubt, this is all kind of built and built and built to where, yeah, I think we are sensitive, where you can even take a show or property that you love. I'll just dive into it with Star Wars. I love Andor. Andor is one of the greatest shows ever made. I absolutely agree with that. Deserves any awards that it could get. It couldn't get as many as it deserved because, again, critical genre bias, perhaps. I don't know. Again, not the smartest person in the room. I'll let some other film industry insider tell you more about that. But Andor is spectacular, and Andor had a lot of important things to say. But when you use Andor as a club against other Star Wars properties that might be made a little differently, that might not be your taste, that might be a little less than to you, but you work hard. Instead of just sitting over that, you work hard to take away someone else's joy, especially using another show as a bludgeon, as a asp baton against another show. That's when it becomes hurtful. That's when it becomes really problematic, and that's where, yeah, absolutely, I'm sensitive. The Book of Boba Fett is one of my favorite shows. It's wonky, it's messy, it's far from perfect. It's definitely a show that set out to do its own thing in its own way. But it's got 2 or 3 moments in it. And I love every episode, I really do. But it's got 2 or 3 moments in it that have defined me as an adult. I was so moved by them that I've carried the lessons and the inspiration and the impact of those moments with me going forward, not just as a Star Wars fan, but as a person. But if I say that on a show, if I say that even here now, or I say that at a bar, someone's going to be like, how could you say that? Andor's the best show. Yeah, Andor's great. It's good for you. And I love it too. But I also love this show. And what do you gain from taking it away from me? So yeah, you know what? I'm sensitive, Brennan. I'm sensitive. So what can we do? Oddly enough, I turned to my lessons of being an Oasis fan. I am an old school Oasis fan. I was a rock DJ in the 90s. I fell in love with the band Oasis. You want to talk about making something your identity? I cut my long George Harrison 1971 hair into a Noel Gallagher bowl cut. I went into a hair salon with the liner notes from 2 Oasis albums, and I said, make mine like this. So I loved Oasis. And people around me, at my radio station and in my friend groups, some were Oasis fans, to be clear. Shout out to my buddy Joel, who introduced the band to me, and we went to several Oasis shows. But other than him, a lot of people just were like, how could you like that band? I hate that band. Blur's better, Radiohead's better, Bush is better, Stone Temple Pilots, name any 90s band, they're better. Great. And I used to fight about it, and I used to get sensitive about it because I had made Oasis my identity, and now it felt like you were attacking me. And at many times, they were. After a while, I came to this realization that, you know what? I don't need you to love Oasis. In fact, I don't even want you to love Oasis if you're not feeling it. I love Oasis. I'm going to go listen to their albums. I'm going to crank it up in a car on cassette or maybe a mix CD. I'm going to be an Oasis fan, and I don't need you to be one with me. So I don't think we're going to change the digital media landscape. I don't think we're going to change people talking over the art. I don't think we're going to remove the sports talk radio aspect. I don't think we're going to remove the fascination with box office numbers and casting dramas and director dramas, things that shouldn't matter to you unless you're, a producer or a studio head. I don't think we're going to remove that, Brennan. And I don't want to accuse people of being mean. Let them do their things. But I'm going to sit over here and be a fan of the things that I love. And I don't need anyone else to go on the journey with me. I hope that answered your question, Brendan. I hope those were more additional thoughts. Hey, if you have a question out there, you can subscribe to the channel, become a YouTube channel member, or a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/Napzok. Links down below. Get in there and submit a question. All right? I'm going to go outside and play in the rain. See ya.